Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really happy to have you all here, and I hope that you're as excited as I am about some of those updates you just heard in the keynote. In this session, we're going to talk all about the transformational power of the Atlassian Cloud platform, and we're going to share some actionable guidance for those of you who are in the process of migrating to cloud. I know that some of you are probably already on cloud, some of you might be on-prem just starting to think about how you're going to get there, and others might be in the middle of planning right now. Wherever you are, you probably are facing some similar challenges when it comes to modernizing IT service delivery at your organizations. Change is constant. You don't need me to say it, you've heard it a million times. You're experiencing this probably firsthand every day, you feel it. But if you are looking for proof, the reality is disruption's been on the rise. Accenture measured a 200% increase in the level of disruption since 2017. And for comparison, that was just 4% in 2011 to 2016. Whether it's shifting customer preferences, inflationary pressures, or the constant pace of technological innovation, organizations across every industry are struggling to keep up, and they need to accelerate their reinvention strategies. When it comes specifically to IT support and operations, you've got some specific challenges and a lot of pressure. You need to ship faster to keep your your services on, and you need to empower all teams to be able to deliver service, both to their customers and to your employees. This is a tall order, to say the least. It's not easy. Plus, it's made all the more challenging by the fact that a lot of teams are still working from really traditional and clunky ITSM tools with rigid processes and disconnection. The tools that your teams use are probably disconnected, and you have different teams using the same tools or using different tools, all in different ways. This means it's impossible for you to get the visibility you need into the work that's happening in your organization, how it relates, and how it ladders up to your top-level business goals. This prevents you from transforming into a modern service delivery organization. And obviously, these are not problems unique to ITSM. These types of challenges are showing up in every facet of the business. To combat these challenges, you need tightly integrated tools to connect your work. You need standard processes, and you need teamwork built into those tools so that your teams can work together faster. And you need connected data to give you that visibility and alignment. It's good if you have one of those, and it's awesome if you have two, but the reality is, if you really want to have a successful transformation, you need all three of these pieces coming together. When a customer realizes this, we call it a connected enterprise. And connected enterprises are more resilient and adaptive than their peers, and they're able to navigate those waves of disruption because their tools and processes are helping move them forward instead of holding them back. So how do we get there? We built the Atlassian Cloud platform to power these connected enterprises. We built our tools to connect all of your teams on a single platform with one tech stack and a shared data model so that you have a unified work system. And just because those tools are tightly connected, it doesn't mean we're a walled garden. We built our platform to be extensible so that you can integrate with whatever tools your teams need. We built consistent experiences so that you have a seamless connection between all of your teams and their workflows. And we've got all of your data in one place so you can track progress, make better decisions, and look and see how it all connects to the biggest objectives that your organization is trying to accomplish. Of course, all of this built on an enterprise-grade infrastructure layer that's scalable, resilient, and performant. It's secure, it's trusted, and it meets your enterprise requirements. We've been working really hard on this, but I just want to call out a little bit of the recent progress we've made on delivering on your security, compliance, privacy, and administration requirements. First up, security. BYOK is now available in early access, so you can meet your data privacy, security, and regulatory requirements by maintaining control over the lifecycle of your encryption keys. We shipped external user security, so you can now apply security controls to your users who might be customers or partners, other people you collaborate with outside of your organization, your Atlassian organization. And coming soon, we have SSO and SCIM for Jira Service Management. When it comes to compliance and privacy, we have Jira Service Management Cloud is HIPAA compliant for all of our paid plans, standard, premium, and enterprise. And we continue to expand data residency into more and more regions. currently available in 6 regions: Australia, the US, the EU, Germany, Singapore, and Canada. And we're going to be reaching the next 6 regions soon, which is South Korea, Japan, the UK, Brazil, India, and Switzerland. And last up, admin controls. Our teams are hard at work on delivering on custom domains, so you'll have the ability to use a company-branded URL on your cloud site soon. All of these investments are soon going to be able to support 20,000 agents in Jira Service Management Cloud. That means we can support the largest enterprises that are out there on the planet. We're committed to being an enterprise-grade leader, and we want you to trust and protect your data. Protecting your data will be our #1 priority over new feature development. You can feel confident and comfortable that your data will remain safe, compliant, and private, while still empowering your IT teams with the innovation they need to do their best work. So let's zoom back out at the platform and think about how it can help supercharge service delivery in your organization. So thinking back to some of those challenges, needing to ship faster, needing to manage risk, keep your services on, and navigate constant disruption. Here are 3 specific ways that you can do that when you're on the Atlassian platform in cloud. First step, only in Jira Service Management Cloud do you get access to virtual agents powered by Atlassian Intelligence, which means your teams can respond to frequently asked questions, share knowledge-based articles, responding to more and more requests with faster response times. Next, get your development and operations teams working on the same platform. When you do that, you can have seamless change management flowing through your organization, which accelerates deployment frequency and gets service improvements to your customers that much faster. And if and when an incident does occur, you can take advantage of our incident management capabilities. We have on-call alerts, all built into Jira Service Management natively. So they also connect to Jira software. That way you can pull together your software development teams and your operations teams together to resolve an incident quickly. And last, when it comes to empowering service for all, you need the teams outside of IT to approach service with the same urgency as IT. On cloud, you can do that. You can empower those other business teams by providing them with over 300 pre-built forms and project templates for business teams, including external customer support. This is just 3 examples of some amazing things that you can do once you get to Jira Service Management Cloud. But today is all about legendary service management, and you'll hear a lot more. You heard it in the keynote, you'll hear it at the booths, and when you watch some of the demos, there's a ton that you can do. So I guess my summary is the power of the Atlassian platform adds up. Forrester calculated that a Jira Service Management Cloud customer can expect a 277% ROI with an implementation period of 4 months, payback in 6 months, and over $4.2 million US dollars in 3 years. So, millions of users have already moved to cloud to take advantage of all of these benefits, and there's really never been a better time to join them. Our teams are stronger, faster, and smarter on cloud. So if you're not already there, you should start thinking about how to get there. Please join me in welcoming my coworker, my friend, Jason, who is here to help you do just that. Make a plan for your journey to cloud. Let's do it.
I'm Jason. I'm a product manager on the cloud migration products and platforms team. So I'm here to talk to you about how to make the move to cloud. Now, very often with a migration, we want to get right into it, right? Let's just start getting that stuff across as quickly as possible. There's a lot going on with migration, and so what I want to do is set you up for success by talking about migration strategy. You got to think about that, right? Because if we just get into the nitty-gritty of details, we may lose direction. So I want to use the analogy of building a house, right? I know we want to just get on with it, right? Like pour the concrete, get the bricks going, cut some wood, just get it going, build some stuff. But you know, when you do build a new house, it's really useful to consider your strategy, right? Like what's your aim? What are you trying to get out of the build here? And so we want to talk about architecture. Like just like you would have thinking about your floor plan, what are you trying to optimize for? Very similarly with your cloud migration, thinking about what that's going to look like. We call that a tenant map, and I'll show you how to put that together and as we go through this session. But really critical part here is to understand that, because it'll set you up for really then getting into the project timelines and then the actual construction phase, so to speak, so that the outcome is what you want, right? The worst case is not having a strategy, getting to build the thing, and then, as we know, if we did that with our house, we'll be wanting to change it again, right? So let's try and see how we can take a strategic view on the move to cloud. So what I want to introduce you to is this practice of running a cloud blueprint. It's essentially the equivalent of your floor plan with the house analogy. First thing I want to do is talk about portfolio design. That's your tenant map, which sort of considers how many products you're going to have, how many instances you're going to roll out. We'll then talk about the rate of change, like, how's that project going to pan out? Are we going to move very quickly? Are we going to have to move more gradually? And then we'll get to the migration method. So the first part is portfolio design. This is a super critical part to get right because it's inextricably linked to how your business operates and where it's going into the future. So no pressure, but this is where we consider whether it's useful to transpose to cloud. Now this is sort of your traditional go-to migration where the aim is really to replicate. And that can mean all the way through from your footprint to how you operate your sites, to how you operate your projects, spaces, repositories, right? And we're really talking about not changing anything here. And this is a good option if you're already optimized, or as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Let's go to cloud, let's get the benefits of being in SaaS. But very often, we do love to push ourselves and look for those incremental gains, right? And so this is where it's useful to consider transforming to cloud. What changes do we make to our architecture? What changes do we make to our way of working that as we move to cloud, understand the new features, understand how we've been using Atlassian up to date, do a retro and look for a different kind of architecture that you can enjoy and look for that added bit of performance from your team. But ultimately it comes down to whether you have a vector for change. So I want to give you some examples. Here we've got a company, operates globally, did a few acquisitions, and what they're finding is they have a need to standardize, right? And they want to get all of their different geographies collaborating more closely. So they've adopted what we call a consolidated tenant map to cloud. Now, same company a few years later, could be a different company, may find the reverse is true. They're too globalized, lost touch with the audience in different locals, and they now want to federate, is what we call here, where we split the instances out to give more autonomy to those regions. And then another example here. So in the top there, we've got two product teams who are sharing a server instance before, fighting over who's super admin. Someone makes a change and it disrupts the other team. We're finding, hey, these teams are delivering different products, different markets. They work differently. When we go to cloud, let's give them their own site so they can work more autonomously. They're going to be happier, more productive. On the bottom there, we've got a business unit who doesn't want change. They've been very particular about privacy settings, and so when we move to cloud, they just want to transpose. They're going to be happy for that to happen and do it at a different time and place. So there's a lot of different things going on here, but it just goes to show that it's the portfolio design. You really have to, again, anticipate your future way of working, or recognize that maybe the way you've been using Atlassian has maybe drifted from how you work, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe your settings have changed. So really, it's really with a view to the future in terms of why it's useful to consider a transformation. Now, you would have heard of a lot of differences between our cloud and server products. One feature I want to call out specifically that's useful for portfolio design is the multi-site feature with our Cloud Enterprise Edition, right? So what you tend to find with on-prem architectures is these sort of monolithic deployments. And it's mainly because it sort of made sense for everyone to share licensing and infrastructure, right? More bang for buck. Every additional site you roll out, there's just more and more stuff going on. Having said that, there are a lot of our customers on-prem who do have multi-site transformational footprints. So it does go to show that there's a lot of value to be unlocked here despite additional hardware licensing costs. But this is where cloud is a game changer, right? Because on Cloud Enterprise Edition, you can roll out a whole number of different sites at no marginal cost. So just to clarify, you pay once per user, no matter how many sites you have. And that unlocks all these degrees of freedom for you to achieve your dream architecture in cloud. So that's portfolio design. Second part is rate of change. This is where we get probably a bit more looking to you to make the decision here around how fast you can make, or you need to, or you can support that move. Obviously, we want to try and get the thing done as quickly as possible. So rapidly is desirable, but we do see a lot of situations where you want to be able to sustainably manage and support users in different cohorts. Different teams have different things going on at different times. Trying to find that one date that rules them all can be really difficult. So this is the second part, considering how you're going to make the move. Is it going to be sort of very quickly, or is it going to be over a few years or months and phasing that out? For those of you going gradually, we've built an application tunnels feature here that allows you to maintain your server and cloud sites and keep them connected as you phase across. And then finally, we'll get to the migration methods. So my team's been building a whole suite of migration assistants. You can download them, install them in Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket Server, and they help you move the core data to cloud. And just wanted to share with you some progress we've been making. Really, we want to support the ability for you to move the data across throughout any of the transitions you make on your tenant map. So a few call outs here. We'll be putting a lot of work into better platform stability, features that avert or prevent migration error. And that's led to the first point here around higher success rates. So you hit those run buttons to move the data across. We've seen a lift in about 30% in terms of the success rates of the past 12 months. Also, we've been putting a lot of work into making the migration speed faster. So over the past 12 months, again, we've made that about 10 times faster. I should note these slides, they should be moved, those two should be saying shipped, actually, not in progress, the first two. So really proud to sort of share with you the work my team's been doing to make a lot more predictable, success rates higher, and the speed, so you spend less time in migration process. Also, there's a lot of data to move, right? So further to that, we've been investing in ways that can help you deal with the large scale. A lot of this is around pre-migrating as much as you can. So pre-migrating users, pre-migrating attachments, looking for opportunities to also see what is being currently used. We do tend to find that 80% of Jira projects, Confluence spaces haven't actually been updated in the last 6 months. So a really useful tip there is to find those, move them to a different phase so you really get your downtime. And if you take these kind of steps, you can enjoy a downtime reduction of around 80%. Another one I want to call out, I won't have time to go through all these, but is we've started putting also some public migration APIs into onto our roadmap, and we're starting to build those. That's going to be very useful for those of you trying to automate your way through it, or solution partners trying to also help with that. Also our marketplace app partners building features can help also ease the migration process. But if you have more questions on these, please stay back or come over to one of the booths to discuss these further on. So putting all this together, we've put a resource called Cloud Blueprint. You can click on that or you can scan that QR code. It'll be up on a few other slides, but really what this is a workshop. Best take 1 to 2 hours in each and iterate your way through the process. Find the right people in your business to talk to, right? Executives who can give you advice on where the business is heading, users, and really set your time out. So this will take you to a template on Miro. You can create a Miro board with your own privacy settings. You can export a PDF, or actually you can just grab a whiteboard marker and run with it. So I'll quickly take you through this. So we want to start, again, portfolio design, architecture. What's your dream footprint in cloud? How are you going to best unlock and optimize your way of working for your company? So what you can do is grab a few icons, lay out the products you're going to have and the sites. Second part, take stock of what you've already got currently. So again, grab some icons, show what instances you have on server or data center. And then the third part was we want to bring them onto the same board. So we start seeing a bit of a to and from map of what's going on. Now we've got features built into our cloud migration assistants to help you assess your apps. So next part is you want to note down what apps or integrations you may have. And what we want to do next is start drawing the transitions to show how the data is going to move as you make this movement to cloud. Now I spoke about rate of change, so the second part here, and we've got some color coding to denote, yeah, we're going to move all at once very rapidly or gradually maybe by cohort. Even starting fresh can be the best thing as well for certain situations. So you can see now we've built this what we call a tenant map. That's basically your architecture for your move to cloud, which shows your footprint, the transitions of data, and how you're going to get that done in terms of the rate of movement. So once we've got that picture now, we've got a strategy to start putting into a project plan. So this is where we can start pouring the concrete and putting the bricks down, right? Start with a proof of concept, migrate using groups, get the governance or administration parts correct, do some testing, get ready, and then we can start moving the data across. So there you have it, a whole, resource there for you to come up with a cloud blueprint. Again, key thing here is to do it iteratively. Don't get all waterfally on me and do it once, and you'll find that you'll get to a well-considered, well-socialized strategy to get to cloud that shows how you're maximizing this move. So again, can't stress the importance of getting off on the right foot with your move to cloud here. Great way to get started with your blueprint. You can always come back. There's a great framework to come back and refer to it anytime through your process. Thinking through it iteratively as well, end to end, helps you avoid these challenges. A lot of the times customers get tripped up on just, we haven't done enough due diligence, we didn't consider this, we get a lot of surprises, and it becomes very difficult midway to adjust, right? So it just helps make sure that your move is a lot more smoother with the strategic component in there, right? Most importantly, maximizing your return on investment here. So as we look through and consider whether we're going to transpose or just copy our way to cloud, or we're going to transform, it really just puts in perspective how we're unlocking better ways of working overall. So, hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to invite Alyssa to come back up. We've spoken a lot about the strategic elements of the move to cloud, but we want to just take you through some commonly asked questions and further details of what customers have asked us.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. All right, so not everyone in the audience has the privilege that I do of getting to work with you all the time. So before I get into the questions, do you think you could just share a little bit more about yourself, your role at Atlassian, and also you've been at Atlassian 10 years, more than 10 years?
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of the little summary.
Sure. So I started working at Atlassian in 2014, so almost 10 years, yeah. And I started managing a product back then known as Jira Agile. So for those of you who've used our products for some time, you might have seen me out doing Jira Agile roadmaps and that presentations of these kind of events before. So I'd worked on that. As you know, the history of that product transformed into Jira software. I worked through then our movement from basically writing the products and the code, we shipped them to server and cloud the same, to going cloud native. So around 2016, you may know we forked our code base, and we built Jira software in the cloud. I was recruited into this team around 2018, 2019, just having had that experience trying to help us navigate how the data and the products have been built for server through to cloud. And so I joined the team, we started building the Jira Cloud Migration Assistant, app migration platforms and those sort of things, which has brought me to this point in time. And very recently I've been working on our data transformations element of our whole cloud strategy.
Got it, thank you. So we started using the Cloud Blueprint about 6 months ago with customers. I was wondering if you could share some examples of patterns that are starting to emerge with the customers you've seen go through the process, and maybe some advice for anyone in the audience who might be thinking about giving it a run.
Yeah, sure. So what I showed, we actually rolled out about 6 months ago. We're in the middle of actually iterating on it, so we're going to be making some improvements. I'm going to share those with you right now. So what I showed you was this sort of thing where we're still looking at Atlassian data structures and footprints and what products you have out there. But what we've been hearing is that there's two things that come before and after this that would really help. So starting more with business context, right? We're talking about, as I mentioned, it's inextricably linked to how your business operates or how it will operate in the future. So you've got to anticipate that. And so what you want to do is sit down with your business leaders, maybe even understand your org chart, how that might change, ways of working, the goals, because that really helps inform that first step I showed, which was about your dream footprint of Atlassian products. So if you can get that part, that's a really, really important part to add as a preamble to diving into that. The second part is I ran through that. It sounded fairly ideal, right? I think the biggest thing is to then get that footprint and make sure that it is 100% feasible. So those of you, with access to our cloud migration managers and that, they can give you tips on how to analyze your data, run some assessments, just to be 100% sure that those things, your cloud blueprint is, yes, not just strategic and not just blue sky and a big dream, it's actually executable. So they're the two top and bottom parts I'd sort of add as highlighting how you could improve usage of that.
Thinking about your metaphor with building a house, I have undertaken some DIY projects myself at home that
Yes.
I maybe should not have done DIY. I've been learning. Do you recommend with this Cloud Blueprint, like, safe to try it on your own? Do you need a partner? Do you need somebody else to run you through it?
Yeah. So it's not often that we do migrations. Not often we do transformations or re-architecture. Some of us have. So I think it is one of those things where sometimes you need to DIY to find that you need some professional help.
Relatable.
It's why we try to use the cloud, the house analogy, right? Like I think, realizing that architecture is we don't build houses every day, right? And so it's really useful when you sit down with an architect to, they understand movement through space, through physical space in the building analogy. Same thing with Atlassian products. How you can different admin methodologies are going to pan out when you structure things in different ways, and also give you a more realistic idea of what's going to be required to remodel into that, right? So that's the thing, when you start looking at remodeling, it comes less of this thing where, okay, how do we rapidly minimize our movement into that? It becomes more an investment to leverage and step up, because you are going to shift into a new gear. So yeah, I'd be always recommending you find someone who has that expertise in remodeling and, I guess, Atlassian solution architecture to really get the most out of it. I do think you'll find, as with our DIY, I do a lot of DIY too, and
hopefully better than I do.
You always jump into it, and I guess you learn the hard way, unfortunately. But it is that I always bring it back to that agile philosophy of responding to change over following a plan. It doesn't say don't have a plan. So you still you need to have a concrete plan, but brace for that to be constantly improving and changing. And so that's a part that I think getting advice really helps, because you'll just start on a ladder so much higher than you would on your own.
All right, next up. I've gotten this question a few times before when I'm staffing a booth around consolidation versus federation. You did touch on it earlier, but could you give a little bit more detail to help a customer think through when they should do what?
Yeah, sure. So the examples I gave was this sort of example of geos. So a lot of it's around, are you trying to bring teams closer together, which is a consolidation is good for. And that can be due a lot to finding that maybe the way things have been operating a server haven't been as well guarded as you wanted or optimized. We do find that happens. Like I mentioned, you drift away from how you had optimized it before, or maybe it's the other way around where the Atlassian settings have drifted away because things haven't been governed or something. So a lot of the time you find, are you optimized as a first question, and you can sort of, consolidations typically is driven on that need to provide more standardization. Another sort of aspect for, I guess we're looking the other way around, federation comes from that other aspect of there's just too much overlap, and finding that teams need more space, drastically different ways of working. And so, I think that's why sort of in the previous discussion we had around understanding your org structure and ways of working, and who's trying to work closer, or actually who's better, maybe being a bit more independent helps. Yeah.
One of the things that I've heard come up to you related is around app licensing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've seen, and again, this is why it sort of depends. I know we'd love to stand up here and say it's one or the other. But so further to the one before about structure, you've now got in the app space situations. I'll start with the consolidation. So if you're in a situation where it's not as well governed, maybe your things have drifted out of time, we find customers are paying potentially for apps multiple times over, right, on server or data center instances. And what they may find is when they consolidate to one cloud site, that means they're now paying once for those users rather than multiple times on the different instances. So I've had customers definitely find a lot of optimizations from that. But again, the other way is true as well. We've found customers who are using, say, everyone's sharing the same instance. They may have been overpaying for apps. Not everyone uses a ITSM optimized app or a agile optimized app. If you're on the same instance, and what they find is when they move to cloud, they can federate, and so then they feel better, paying for a JSM app if there's a JSM instance and a JSW instance over here with their apps. Or they may find that they actually just started from a position of saying, no, you can't use any apps at all. And so that holds teams back from actually, leveraging apps. And so definitely optimizing your spend on apps is a huge draw card and consideration for consolidating and federating.
Thank you. All right, next up, obviously top of mind for migrating customers is the amount of time it takes to migrate, both to do the planning of it, the actual execution, and minimizing the downtime related. How can customers, you gave a few kind of small examples throughout your talk, but what's the best summary? How can customers minimize downtime when they're migrating?
Yeah, good question. So I guess looking at once you've figured out your blueprint, that firstly helps give you an idea of what cohorts are going to move and when, right? So that's the first thing to sort of start getting in your mind into the element of time and schedule. So when we get into that, then we can think about, well, preloading as much data as you can is a really good tactic. And I think I spoke about those things like when you pre-migrate your users and attachments, what happens is that data can move across without anyone noticing. It's just like a background sort of movement of data. And then when you come to actually do a live migration, our cloud migration assistants can detect any differences in users or attachments and just add those into the migration. So you get into this sort of like, it just moves the diff, which statistically speaking can probably reduce your payload, like the time spent on users and attachments by about 99%, as if compared to if you didn't do that and you tried to migrate everything on each phase. Same thing with your projects and spaces, as I mentioned, 80% haven't been used. So maybe stepping back a bit, like trying to reduce the scope of your migration is probably the first biggest thing you can do. I mean, a lot of times we'll talk about this as cleaning up where you can. A lot of the times we talk to customers about this, it's like, oh yeah, that's the thing we should have been doing, we just never got around to it. So obviously when you reduce that scope and prioritize, it reduces all the time and effort taken to get to cloud involves a lot of pre-work and testing and those things. There's a lot of cycles that you have to work through. So think about every project, every space. It's not just one transaction. It's actually going to be multiple sort of testing, validation with your users. And every one of those you can reduce has multiplying effects on users. So minimizing that scope, going through with the steps I spoke about to pre-migrate as much as you can. Obviously, we've been investing in making the migration speed a lot faster, so with 10x. And I said we've shipped that, but we're still working on the next 10x, so there's going to be more of that speed coming as well to help with that. The other one is we have seen a trend away from actually all at once big lift and shift migrations. So when we first started this, a lot of us wanted, like I said, it's back to that analogy, just lay the concrete, put the bricks down, get going, let's just get this shit done, you know. But what we've found is when we do big lift and shifts, you have to find a very large window. So trying to do it overnight might be once, but like we've got a lot of international customers, so you don't really have an overnight window, it's follow the sun. Then we go, maybe the weekend. So we went for the weekend, 24 hours. But a lot of feedback we got is that, again, think about the migration cycle. You're doing massive blocks of testing. Those of you familiar with DevOps practices these days never do that, right? It's all incremental, continuous integration, very small things that you want to test and ship to make it more manageable. So customers have moved into like, let's go into more broken down phases, and potentially we can even migrate during a lunchtime, which then changed the game from like a 24-hour big window outage to maybe a lunchtime. Very important for JSM projects where you want to keep customers, desks open to customers. Also, I think for you all as well, they've said it burns out their team when they try and do these big migrations outside of office hours. Imagine like, hey, can you work this weekend? Can you work this weekend again? So burnout of team is probably one of the big factors there too.
So those were some examples of specific things customers can do, like make your plan, bring less with you to cloud, bring it in smaller chunks. Is there any other work that's going on behind the scenes at Atlassian that we're doing to make migrations even faster for customers?
We are looking at ways to increase the speed at which we can move high amounts of data across. So no secret, the Jira migration has been taking a while. I can put some numbers out there, like we were saying it would probably migrate on average 250,000 issues per 24 hours last year. Now that's 10x, and we'll keep going with that. A lot of it works through, under the hood, this sort of REST API calls, which is very chatty. So we're making some platform investments to change that architecture so we can actually push data through a lot faster. So that's really going to change the game, I think, in terms of the actual raw speed that you'll get as we move things through. And I think, the more we can sort of break down the migration, give you more flexibility is going to help there as well. So they're probably the main things. We're just going to keep pushing more and more on that speed element, just so that there's less, again, you're spending less time on your migration process.
So a lot of what we talked about today is relevant for a Jira software migration, a Confluence migration, but we're here for ITSM. So Anything specific that the audience should be thinking about when it comes to migrating Jira Service Management projects?
Yeah, I already mentioned just before the outage, so trying to get that as small as you can and use the phasing approach there, maybe just to migrate 1 or 2 desks and minimize that. I think also with JSM projects, we've got this situation where there are Atlassian users, like agents in Jira software and Jira work management. We've got users there too. You've got customers, right, and JSM. So one pro tip is trying to be proactive with that. So if you sort of go through the migration process without thinking about this, what will happen is all users will go to cloud, and then you'll have to go one by one through the UI and update them. Now, if you've got thousands of customers, that's going to be really painful, right? So what you can do is we've got a feature now, you can download a CSV and update it in bulk and note down who's a customer, who's not, and get that in there so that when you get to cloud, it's smoother sailing.
Nice. All right.
Maybe also, actually, also apps. If you've got a lot of apps, we've also just released a plugin, an app plugin that you can download. Our data center team developed this. It shows you Jira app usage. So if you've got JSM projects, you've got apps, not sure how much is being used, there's a new plugin you can go from Marketplace, install that, and it'll give you some indication of who's using this. That's another really good one to look into.
Cool. Well, as we get to the end, I guess my one last question for you is, obviously you've been at Atlassian a long time, you've worked across a bunch of different parts of the business. Any closing bits of kind of wisdom, advice, anything else you want to leave our beautiful audience with today?
Yeah, look, there's a lot. Probably want to speak to everyone as well.
Lunch is after this. You can come talk to me at lunch. I'll talk for a long time.
Stay back and I'll be around. But I think, look, again, there's a lot going on with migrations, right? So there's a lot of technical, a lot of logistical complexity that you'll find out when you get into it. And so, yeah, the biggest thing is just to maintain focus on why we're moving to cloud. And I always remind everyone to ask themselves that question, be very clear on that. And again, that's why we ran the Cloud Blueprint play to show you that. But remember, it's always about finding and building a better future, right? So always remember that's the end target. And when the going gets tough, always refer back to that. Refer back to your blueprint. Everyone's looking forward to this better way of working. We're always trying to push ourselves there. So that's the main thing. Just make sure you've got clarity that you're moving into a better future and how you're going to make that happen.
Thanks. All right, that's it for questions. Thank you so much. We'll be upstage after this. We'll be at the booth, walking around. Come have lunch with us. So if you have more questions, please wave us down. And I hope this was helpful for those of you who are currently planning your migrations. I do want to call out that we're approaching a pretty big milestone here. We are about 100 days out from our upcoming server end of support date. So on February 15th, 2024, Atlassian and our marketplace partners will no longer provide technical support, security updates, or bug fixes for vulnerabilities across our server products and apps. So now is the time to take action if you haven't already. And we have some specific, really simple first step, do this. If you have less than 1,000 users on your server instance, start your cloud migration trial today. It's free, lasts for 6 months. We have a step-by-step guide that will walk you through how to migrate in less than 100 days. And if you're on the other side, if you're over 1,000 users, please get in touch with our teams as soon as you can. If you scan that code, it'll get you to the right people. We can help you make a plan for your migration, build your business case, and also for those customers, you can get up to 1 extra year of server support if you purchase a qualifying cloud annual subscription before February 15th. So please start making your plans. This talk is just one of the many resources we have available. We are here to help. We're really committed to equipping you with all the knowledge and resources you need to have a successful journey to cloud, and we are excited to see you there. So thank you.